This is Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary and self-proclaimed historic figure. Recently, Karine brought a special guest into the briefing room, washed-up actor and TDS victim Mark Hamill, and it's as cringy as you thought it would be.
And look, I just got to meet the president, and he gave me these aviator glasses. I'm telling you, I love the merch.
Really? Couldn't bother combing your hair before visiting the White House?
Yes.
Can Biden bring up Star Wars too, sir?
Well, you know, I called him Mr. President. He said, "You can call me Joe." And I said, "Can I call you Joby-Wan Kenobi?" And he liked that.
He liked that? I have no doubt in my mind that Joe Biden had no idea what the that meant.
What did you talk about with the president?
Well, first of all, I only expected to be there for like 5 minutes. He showed us all these photographs, and, you know, it was really amazing to me.
Wow, Joe Biden loves talking about himself? Who knew? But you know, I think it's great that with all the things happening in the country and the world, that Joe Biden can take the time and meet with the homeless. Anyway, Karine was asked why Mark Hamill was at the White House, and the answer was not in Karine's binder, so let's watch her struggle.
What was Mark Hamill doing here today?
I think he said he was having a meeting. Did you not like having him here?
Answering a question with a question. Perfect.
He said it himself. We wanted to make sure that he provided, which is one of the reasons he spoke to why he was here himself. He wanted to meet with the president. They had a meeting, and well, I mean, you guys asked him questions.
The questions that were asked were, what did you talk about with the president, and did President Biden bring up Star Wars? And neither received a proper answer.
They had a meeting about what the president has been able to do on behalf of the American people. Mark Hamill was in town. They met. I think it was important.
Oh, you mean the important meeting where Joe Biden showed Mark Hamill photographs?
You all know Mark Hamill. He is someone who is very much invested in our country, very much invested in the direction of this country.
Translation? He tweets a lot about politics through the lens of Trump derangement syndrome. Joe Biden is the best president we've ever had. Breaking, Mark Hamill has announced he will be supporting President Biden over Donald Trump. I voted for 4 more years of an orange-free Oval Office.
Luke's crazy. He can't even take care of himself.
Now keep in mind that Karine Jean-Pierre is a professional communicator that makes $180,000 a year, a salary that you helped pay for, by the way. And when she was asked why a D-list actor who hasn't been relevant in decades visited the White House, all she could offer was a word salad.
And so they had a meeting. It was he went into that meeting, and we thought it would be fun for him to come out here and lighten up the room a little bit on a Friday.
Ugh, I can't wait until November. So Mark Hamill wasn't at the White House for an important meeting. He was there on May 3rd. You know, the day before May 4th, i.e., May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Always.
I guarantee that Joe Biden has no clue about what any of that means.
Hey, I'm Mark Hamill, and I'm voting for Joby-Wan Kenobi.
So this is how liberty dies.
So recently, Stephen Nelson, the White House correspondent for the New York Post, wrote an article regarding an alleged failed attempt to shove Karine Jean-Pierre out the White House door and replace her with someone who doesn't suck. Karine doesn't have an understanding of the issues, and she reads the binder word for word, said a source, adding, she thinks she's doing an amazing job. To reference a famous line from Star Wars, Karine has delusions of grandeur.
So what I can say this, and we've been pretty clear, and the president has said very clearly, and look, we have always been very clear. His letter made clear, but I think we've made ourselves very clear. We've been clear. We're going to continue to be clear. We have been very clear. And what I can say is We have been clear on our position. We continue to be clear on our position. We've been very clear about that. We have been also clear, but I don't want to go into details. We have been very clear in public and in private. So just to be very clear, you've seen us be very clear about that. Very clear. We are going to continue to be very, very clear. What I can say is we've made our concerns very clear, and we want to make sure that we make it very clear. And so certainly you'll hear from the president very, very clearly. Obviously, we're going to be always mindful and be very clear. But we've been clear. We've been very clear about that, but we've been very clear. And so we're going to be very loud, continue to be loud and clear about that. We've been very clear, and we continue to do that from here. And the president was very clear. And so I just wanted to make that clear as well.
Now, if you were as bad at your job as she is, you'd be fired. But Karine has something that you don't: the diversity card. A source claims that White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients and Biden senior advisor Anita Dunn were trying to find Karine a graceful exit because of the ugly optics of removing her against her will. There's a huge diversity issue, and they're afraid of what folks are going to say. What a bunch of pussies. Imagine holding a top position at the White House and being so useless that you're unable to fire Karine Jean-Pierre of all people.
This is part of giving people a little bit more of a breathing room. This, again, will give them a little bit more of a breathing room. And our agenda has been to make sure that the American people get a little bit breathing room. Again, this is about giving relief, a little bit of breathing rooms. It's a shame. It's a shame that you have Republicans out there, Republican groups, Republican states that are trying to stop Americans from getting a little bit of a breathing room, a little bit of break.
One source told the New York Post that Karine doesn't have a grasp of the issues and doesn't spend the time to learn. Another source says there's an enormous amount of work that goes into getting ready, and consistently, she does not put in that level of work. And that's pretty obvious to anyone who has seen Karine in action. She lacks even a basic understanding on, well, anything. And if it's not written down in her binder, she's completely lost. For example, recently, the Tax Foundation pointed out that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, i.e. the Trump tax cuts, are set to expire in 2025. The current individual tax rates will revert back to pre-Trump tax cut levels, which means that if you make more than $9,525 in 1 year, you will pay more in taxes. And currently, with a Republican-controlled Congress and a Democrat-controlled Senate, it is unlikely that there will be any legislation passed to either extend it or replace it. So Karine was asked about this quandary in a very substantive way by Edward Lawrence of Fox Business.
So the president says that he wants to let the tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts, expire. If that law expires, it does raise taxes on almost every American. So does he still support that expiring without anything else in place?
So look, as you said, the president is going to is going to let the Trump tax cut expire, and he was very clear. But he will not raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year, and it's going to expire for the wealthy. So been very clear about that. Look.
Did that sound like a remotely competent response? Of course it didn't. Instead of addressing the question, Karine immediately attacks Republicans.
And Republicans want to do the opposite. They want to give tax breaks to corporations and billionaires.
But you may notice that most Americans got a tax break from the Trump tax cuts. But pointing that out would be telling the truth, and we can't have that.
Who does that hurt? That hurts everyday Americans. And so the president has been really clear about that.
Lowering taxes on everyday Americans hurts everyday Americans. Got it.
The president can't pick and choose which part of the law sunsets. The entire law will sunset. And the Tax Foundation says that someone who's married, 2 kids, making $85,000 would pay $1,700 more in taxes. That's somebody under $400,000 who would.
The president has been very clear. He's going to protect working and middle-class Americans making less than $400,000 a year. He's been very clear on that about that. Republicans want to do the opposite. And so the president's going to do everything that he can as he's building this economy from the middle out and the bottom up to protect everyday Americans. That's what he wants to do. Make sure that the middle class is strong. That's what he's going to do. Republicans in Congress are saying the opposite. Literally, they're saying the opposite. They literally want to do the opposite.
So her claim is that Republicans are literally saying that they want to make sure that the middle class is weak and raise their taxes. Makes sense to me. What's your problem? So unfortunately, Karine isn't going anywhere for now. Yes, largely because of the whole gay woman of color thing, but also because she's one of the only people in the Biden administration that makes the resident look better in comparison, but only slightly.
I'm a historic figure, and I certainly walk in history every day.
What the hell are you? You're a f***ing secretary. F*** you. Yeah, that's my message to you. F*** you and kiss my ass.
Anyway, that's it for now. Follow me on X at Don't Walk Run, and while you're at it, subscribe to the channel. Thanks to Poofy for her help with the script this week, and as always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.